At some stage, someone has to take responsibility for what's happening. It just cannot continue. Hey guys, Big Daddy Liberty here. Sad to come at you with bad news, and maybe that's something we as South Africans are ever increasingly numbing ourselves to. Bad news, and more bad news. The unemployment figures came out by Stats SA, and sure enough, the numbers show a trend that we've been talking about here on the Big Liberty Show and on our sister channel, the Daily Friend Show, which is bad policy decisions and a sluggish economy are costing ordinary people like you and me, jobs. Our unemployment officially sits at 29% now. It's climbed from the previous quarter by 4%? And, you know, we sort of bandy about these percentages, but really we're talking about fellow South Africans, people who are being cast out into the chilly winds of unemployment and poverty, and they're having to face the rising cost of living without an income that none of your sort of trendy lefty, socialist-leaning commentariat were online. Or maybe they were and they were just watching from a distance. And that hardly surprises me. It would seem that whenever the effects of their bad policy is out for the world to see, i.e. in bad employment numbers like these, they're never around to take what is essentially their fair share, if I'm to quote their own rhetoric, of the blame. It is the very leftist ideologues who sit in the echelons of power, whether they're in government or academia, senior academia in this country, or policy-making spaces, who are essentially creating an environment which is proving difficult, ever increasingly difficult for poor people to be able to earn an income, from earning an income, build savings, and with those savings buy themselves better options. Ever increasingly, we are taking power out of the hands of the risk taker, the innovator, the person who is entrepreneurial, and we're placing it into the hands of bureaucrats, officials, statists, and essentially trendy lefties. And then we're left wondering when the unemployment numbers and other economic data, such as our growth, shows such stagnation as to why that's happening. Well, I'm sorry, I for one know exactly why it's happening, and it's time that we as South Africans call a spade a spade. It is the leftist ideology, the people who pine for socialism, who then drive statist policy, who are the ones who are costing ordinary South Africans jobs, employment, and a standard of living which should be commensurate with a functioning and growing democracy. We don't have that because really it's ideas. It is the ideas that are circulating within the mainstream which are absolute trash. And we need to begin to call that out and be brave in calling it out. Here's the bottom line. It is up to you, the ordinary South African, to get involved in the battle of ideas. We are losing the country that we both love to people who have no intention of building a property-owning, prosperous, and a free society. They have no intention of building that. What they want is a state-led, developmental state, as you often hear them say, crony society, where it is the politicians, whether they wear red berets or yellow t-shirts or even or look like Smurfs, they want politicians to be the ones who decide what the individual and what families really. I speak a lot about the individual, but really we're a family society, and it is these politicians and the political elites in this country who want to take the power away from individuals, take decision-making away from families, and put it into the hands of an elite in this country who essentially are selling us bad ideas while at the same time looting the very country that you and I love. At some stage, we must draw the line and say here and no further. We cannot continue to see fellow South Africans losing employment, losing incomes, and joining the long queues, the long bread lines, if you will, of becoming dependents, the very dependents that a lot of working people never thought they'd ever become. We cannot continue down that line. We cannot continue down the line of growing the number of people who live in poverty in this country, who are relegated to the sidelines of being second-class citizens whilst they sit back and are told to look at the accumulated wealth, often ill-gotten by a small elite in this country. We cannot continue down this line of creating this inequality that is born not because of, white individuals and blacks this, because, this weird fixation we have in society on race is absolutely myopic and misses the point. What we have in this country is really a class, if you will, of economic insiders and those of us who are on the outside or on the periphery. And to break the barrier between those two requires that we remove this weird insistence that the state become a parental figure in society. And instead, we need to inspire people to enjoy the sort of liberty that allows them to take control over their lives, to allow them to decide what their futures look like. And that's not pie in the sky. That is very doable. There are certain sets of behaviors, principles, and policies that we can put in place that would empower the individual and the family, and not the politician and his cronies. Someone's got to do something. And I'm going to raise my hand up and say I'm one of those somebodies. I'm going to get out there, I'm going to spread the message of we can build a different future, one that is defined by a property-owning, free and prosperous society, where it is the decision maker in the family who decides on the future and the course of not only themselves, but those in the family, not the politicians, not the bureaucrats. It is the individual in society who decides. Those ideas are pinned in creating a liberal democracy with a market economy, a free and powerful economy that absorbs South Africans and gives them an income, savings, and from those savings, people can buy their own options and be freed from the misery of depending on the state. Let's have that conversation. And I look forward to some of your comments, guys. So thank you for listening to this rant. It's a bit long, but I was really, really riled up at seeing these numbers because it's South Africans. It's people I care about who are suffering. Remember, you can bring me out to your neck of the woods. We can have this conversation. I'll rock up, do a short briefing to you guys that details how we got here, why I say it's a problem of ideology and ideas, how we can turn it around, by actually beginning to advocate for solid ideas that lean on the side of liberty, lean on the side of freedom and markets. Inbox me at bdl@thebiglibertyshow.com. And I can arrange to come out to your part of the world. There's no charge. And I will have a chat with you guys. Bring some friends together. Let's do it over a bribe if need be. And we can chat about how we begin to turn the ship around so we don't become a society that becomes accustomed to bad news like this. You can be a part of the battle of ideas. Help bring the good ideas of liberty out into every single community. Like me, put your hand up and be a part of the battle of ideas.